Hi, this is Tawana Freeman with the Black Life Coaches Network, and thank you for joining us for another episode of BLC. We are having an audio call today, and the audio call is with the former University of Kentucky superstar and NBA star, Derek Anderson. Hi, Derek. How are you?
Doing well, much.
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm actually really excited about the fact that we were able to cut some time out of your busy schedule so we can talk about the release of your new book. And the book is entitled Stamina. And so tell me what the motivation behind Stamina, that caused you to want to put some pen to paper and create this wonderful book.
Well, what happened was I started noticing a lot of things about society. And the biggest thing I noticed about people accepting people to make excuses for whatever their lifestyle, their upbringing was. My upbringing was very difficult. No parents and a lot of other things that contributed to not having a good upbringing. But I never made excuses, and I found a way of surviving and making and doing the right things to give myself a better life. So I just noticed too many people just allowing too many of the bad things to be acceptable. So I felt like it was time for me to put my story out and try to change some of these kids' thinking, so our future will be better than what I think is the way it's going at this point. Kids are looking at, entertainment and celebrities and all these people as role models, but the role models are the people that make our world go around and to keep us all functioning as good people.
And that's an excellent point because, it is the everyday people that we engage with in the community. It's the grassroots efforts. It's the number of people that we see at church or whether it's in after-school programs, even at schools. But when you discovered, your natural talent as an athlete, what was the turning point for you so that you could recognize that you had a greater purpose in life? When did it all switch for you?
It was always in me because I've always focused on trying to better other people around me, even though my situation wasn't that way. So it really was just been in me for a long time. But I think the biggest switch was when I had a child at 14, and then I had to take care of him at age 15, and I was working 2 jobs, and everything was just piling on top of me. I had nowhere to go, staying in people's houses, just place to place, and it was just very stressful as a child. But I realized he was the motivating factor to say, hey, I have to want better for me in order to enable for him to have a better life. And it wasn't so much financially. It was just being able to take care of him. I didn't care about houses or cars. I just wanted to be able to have a roof over his head and put food on the table and give him an opportunity to make something out of himself. So I think just at that point in my life, I decided to never do anything silly or foolish and continue to motivate and to build him up as a young man as well.
Sometimes it takes, different events in our lives to kind of turn on the light bulb so that we can make adjustments. And so was it the birth of your son that was the beginning of your transition?
It was the beginning of it, absolutely. When I saw that I had to actually take care of him. Like, it wasn't like I just had a child and I could see him whenever. I really had to take him to work with me, do certain things, and go to school and feed him and change him. It was very trying at that point. I think that was the biggest moment that I realized that I couldn't mess up. But I think for his adult life, I just realized getting my parents back in my life when I was 30 years old, after missing them for like 20 years almost, I realized then that I could love and forgive people just as much as people would do the same for me. So there was a lot of determining different factors that changed my life, but those are the most noticeable ones that I really focused on, just changing and being better.
I want the guests to understand that Stamina is a book that is basically an inspiring story or the inspirational story of your life in the transitions, all the transitions that you took to, increase your education, your overall awareness about what your purpose was, to embrace your relationships with family, as well as, again, making yourself a better man for your son. But the one thing that I really want the viewers and listeners to understand is that Stamina is about your work ethic. I mean, even from the very beginning, as we talk about your son and what it is that you had to do to provide for him so that you could be a great provider, it's all about your work ethic. So tell us a little bit about, the Derek Anderson work ethic and what makes it work for you.
Well, there are a lot of people that are better than me. There are a lot of people that are smarter than me, more athletic, more talented, have more options. But the best thing that I found out, everything about me, was I worked hard. I outworked everyone around me. I think that was my biggest factor, was making sure that I was never outworked. My effort outlasted anyone's. My drive, my hustle, everything that I did was just making sure no one outworked me. And that has nothing to do with it. There's no blueprint for that. There's nothing else except just outworking people. And that was all I could do. And that was all the things that I just wanted to do, is to prove that I was not going to give in or give up. And that's why I call it stamina. You have to have enough energy to not give up. Even when the hardest times hit you, you can't give up or give in.
Yeah, and the one thing, like you said, there is no blueprint. For most people, they believe that there is a number of different, written rules where you can follow step by step on, how to, acquire success, and that is, transferable. There's some basic things. There are some basic life skills that you have to apply to being a businessman or being, a success in whatever profession that you're in or whatever endeavors you may have. But the one thing that's important is that working hard or outworking someone else, your drive, your work ethic is the unique thing that you bring to the table, no matter what you are involved in. So is there, when you were in the NBA, you had that same principle. Tell me a little bit how you applied the work hard ethic when you were in the NBA.
Well, what I was doing every time I did something in the NBA, it was more character built. It wasn't so much of trying to be the best talent. I wanted to win games, and coaches would say, well, let's score more. I was the best player, but I would always want to pass more. I just wanted to make sure we, as a team, we bonded and did things together and was successful. So for me, I was always trying to do something with my character. I was always trying to build some of the guys who had negative characters or just was down. You just didn't know what was going on. I was always trying to build people's character up and be a good person. And on the court, it just somehow always managed to be either the captain or the leader, and it was always something that people looked up to me. So I made sure I did what I had to do to hold on to that credibility. So I just focused completely on just driving myself to be the best person. And it always carried over to teams. And as I won a championship in 2006 when I got traded, I was helping Dwayne Wade, Shaquille O'Neal. We just worked out game after game, shooting free throws, jump shots. We did a lot of things that just proved to say, hey, you don't have to be the best player to make a team win, but you have to be a great team player. So for me, it was just always making sure that people understood that I was going to be the backbone if you ever needed it. And it was a great tribute to always be around great players and always win. I played 11 years in the NBA, won a championship, and went to the playoffs like 9 out of my 11 years. So I was very blessed at that point.
Yeah, you're right. And a lot of people in the NBA, who don't have that record and can't say that. So when you transitioned from the NBA, and there is a life after the NBA, and a lot of people tend to see athletes transitioning professional into the business world or into entrepreneurship, and whether they are, public speakers or they do things in the community, there is a life after NBA. So tell us a little bit about how you moved and transition. I know you were building that along and along. Wasn't something that you started right after you retired. More so, what did you have in play while you were in the NBA, so that when you left, everything was ready to go?
Well, my first year in the NBA, my second year in the NBA, I started my own company, Derek Anderson Enterprises, and it was and also my Derek Anderson Foundation. Those are the things I wanted to do. Is build my hometown up. I was Louisville, Kentucky. I'm doing 250 people, started building Anderson Development, built homes, strip plazas. Again, my foundation was for abused and battered women and children. And of course, that was my life situation, so I wanted to help those who needed a push like I did. So I started those two things. But the biggest thing that I found out when I was growing up was I spoke to everyone. I had a relationship as far as just being personable to people. And people didn't look at me as an athlete. They thought me as a cool guy. And that's what I was really trying to get people to understand. Hey, I'm more of a person than I am an athlete. So if you focus on that, people was accepting me as soon as I retired. They said, oh, I remember this guy spoke to me. He has good character. He has good thought processes, and he's a mature person who's trying to learn and develop. And that's all I did. I wanted to learn everything, so I wanted to educate myself as far as financial work, far as building business, and I just continue to learn as I do now. But a lot of athletes tend to get up on a pedestal and they don't come around, they don't speak to people. They live off their name as basketball, not their name as a person. So when it's time to retire, people don't like you anymore if you're not still playing basketball. Whereas with me, they couldn't wait till I was done with basketball because the business side of me was always intrigued, and I always wanted to work hard and get everything put on paper and done the proper way. So I was just blessed to understand that at an early age that I know I needed, help in learning how to do things, and educating myself was the biggest thing that I found that was contributing to my success at that point.
There's a consistent message as you have here. Stamina is, again, we're talking about your new book, Stamina, and the inspiring story that kind of lets everyone understand who you are, what you do, and why you do it. But the one thing that's consistent throughout your life, that is what you noted earlier, is about character building. Even after the NBA, again, was about your character. It was about connecting and building people's relationship with people so that you can continue to do what you love to do. And so whether it was the foundation and or any of your other businesses within your enterprise, I think that the consistent message is, work hard and building relationships with people around you because you can't do it alone. And so, helping, you said you may not have been, the smartest person. There are people that are better than you, but it was your effort and your drive and your desire and your passion to do great things beyond, obviously, the NBA. So what's next for you?
Right now, I just want to do the motivational speaking, writing books. I write movie scripts. So I love to put my thoughts and ideas on paper, and I want to take them to the big screen. A lot of my movies are fun, but they're real-life stories. Animation is so realistic of real life, but it's animation. I have a lot of different movies. Of course, my Life Stamina book's is going to be turned into a movie. So that's all I want to do is I want to try to change people's thoughts and ideas of how life should be. I think if you love each other, you'll have a joyful life. But all the anger and the bitterness, that comes from people doing too many negative things. Like freedom of speech is not saying negative things on blog sites. Freedom of speech is being freedom of speech to have rightful moments to do better in life. I think people are focused on freedom of speech and took it too far, and publicity and the way people run the earth is just so negative. Where if you control those social media sites and there was nothing negative could be put out, you know how many people will say nice things to each other? It'd just be very positive, and people will build up. So when you come on there, you wake up, you're like, oh, this is a great day because I heard nothing but great things. But you look on the news and all these other things, it's so negative. So for me, I want to try to change that. I want to try to have it to where every day we have something positive to go off on, and it lasts throughout the day. So I'm just excited to try and put these things out on paper and movies, and hopefully we can change some of the ways of society and start focusing on loving each other instead of being angry all the time.
I often tell my clients and our BLC audience that whenever you see something that you dislike or that bothers you and it irritates you to the point where you want to do something about it, that's a passion point. And what you just described about, the negative attitudes or the negative media that we have right now, and what your purpose or your passion at this point was to be a change when it comes to motivational speaking and creating outlets where you can encourage people in a more positive way to do great things and kind of counter all that. And so, again, that's a perfect example of when you identified a problem and you want to solve a problem. So how soon can we expect to see Stamina on the big screen? Is this something that's a couple of years away?
Yeah, that'd be a couple of years. Not even that long, hopefully, but 2 at the most, and that's what it has to do. But there's so much stuff that we can do. I mean, it just has to be a team effort. I'll laugh. I'll tell these people this joke. When I first got my NBA check, it was $250,000. It got taken down to $127,000. And when I called my attorney, I was like, well, why is so much money am I going? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, half my money's going in. I'm like, who is FICA? And he busted out laughing. And he was just like, well, you feel? I'm like, yeah, I don't know who FICA is. Like, what is that? He said, taxes. I'm like, well, I've never had money. I've never had this. I've never had a credit card. I've never had a bank account. He was like, well, I think it's time you educate yourself. So to me, I think it's everything about life and everything that we do is about educating ourselves. There's nothing, all you have to do is go research it, go find it, go look in the the dictionary, go look in information. Everything is out there. I've done my MBA contracts on my own. There's so many things that I just researched and found out that I could make work for me. And I think all it is educating ourselves, and again, is loving each other and getting rid of the hate. So that's just been my whole focus on it. You know, when all these movies and the books and everything come out, it'll basically just be time for each situation for me in my personal life to come out with them.
Wow, you know, and I think one of the things that I enjoy most about your story is your consistency. I mean, there are so many people who are inconsistent with the way they run their lives or how they do different things. They flip from one page to another page. They don't stay consistent with a particular project or task. They kind of flip-flop. And the one thing that I hope our audience is going to take away is the fact that you're driven and you're focused, and it is consistent within, again, character building, staying positive, being motivational, again, your work ethic, having, a strong work ethic. So before we conclude, I really want to talk a little bit about your foundation, because you mentioned that you have the foundation and it is for assisting abused and battered women and children. Where did that concept come from? What created that passion for you to help that particular group of women?
Well, I've seen what it does to my mother. Like, my dad and my mother, they got into it all the time. A lot of people did that. And some people had single parents, but I had neither after the age of 11. So I just realized my mother really didn't get to see me, or father, but they didn't get to see me do anything because it was so much anger and violence built up in them that they missed out on the opportunity to share something that God blessed me with. Now, they've never got to see me playing any sports. And it really bothered me. Like, when I was 30 years old, I was a millionaire, but I didn't know what my mother and dad was. I didn't know, almost what they looked like anymore. I hadn't seen them in so long. And it was just, it was trying on me. And I was just like, you know what, this is not right. I went and found them, built a relationship with them. And it was all because of so much hurt they had inside them that they didn't want to show up. And I felt like that if I started some kind of foundation to help people get their relationship back with their families, that they would see people forgive you, and they'll still love you. But if you're not willing to help yourself to forgive, then people won't be able to forgive you anyway. So it was just something to me that really opened up my eyes and said, this is something that I got to help people with. It's an internal problem, and people want to commit suicide and use drugs and steal and rob and kill. That's a weakness because they don't have anybody to love them anymore. And we have to find out how to love them at an early age and then forgive them when they do mess up and then keep going. And that's been my motivation, just trying to help people better themselves.
That's powerful, Derek. And, I really appreciate your time. So where can people purchase your book, Stamina?
You can go to my site. It's Derek, DEREK, AndersonWorks.com, or it's at Barnes & Nobles, Joseph Bookstores. It'll be on Kindle in another month. And that'll be it. That'll be the places to go. If anybody wants to have me come speak or talk to their kids or whoever, I would love to do that, and hopefully it's something I've grown through and have matured in. I can help someone get better at that as well. So I'm just excited to be a part and be able to help someone else.
Derek, I really appreciate your time. Your heart is huge. You have a big heart. You have a great passion, and I mean, it's addictive. I mean, whenever someone speaks from their heart, the way you have, as genuine as you are, it is contagious. And people who are listening, who want to do great things, they will find something in this interview that will help inspire them to move to the next level of execution and actually doing the work and putting their hands to the plow and getting it done. So I thank you for your time. Everyone, please, you can find the additional information about Derek Anderson, how to reach him, as well as where to purchase his book below this article and this audio clip. So please feel free to reach out to him and support him as he continues his mission to be the change and help motivate not only our youth, but also help the women and children in our community. But on a professional level, you want to get this man in your schools. You want to get him at the college and university level because he can make a difference. So thank you, Derek, for your time, and I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you so much.